back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Picciuto, and I'm very excited to have my good buddy, Mr. Justin Rosenberg, on with us today. Justin, how you doing, buddy?
I am well, thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited to
I
have this
practice saying
conversation.
that. I have to cut you off. I practice saying that all week. I've been so nervous about that one thing.
Well, you nailed it. Congratulations. Podcast is over. This is great.
Thank you, guys. Please follow my dog.
Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners to who you are?
Sure. My name is Justin. Okay, next question.
What do you do for a living?
No, so my name is Justin Rosenberg. I am a photographer. I'm an East Coast transplant living in Los Angeles, specifically the San Fernando Valley area. Some of you may know that from the movie Clueless and the Tom Petty song. That's, I think, everyone knows the Valley. Yeah, I'm a photographer out here. I'm sure we'll get into a lot of my work. There's probably a lot of my work that you're going to find out about that most people don't know about. I do a lot of like mediocre corporate and branding photography, and I do a lot of like artsy fartsy photography. I don't really call it fine art. Yeah, just a bunch of weird stuff.
Why don't you call it fine art? I'm just curious. Why don't you call it fine art?
I don't know. I don't really have anything against fine art. And sometimes I think it might even be in one of my bios or something. It says that. I don't know. I don't like fancy terms. I'd rather just the work speak.
To be honest with you, I'm super with you. I find people who describe their own work as fine art photography are incredibly pretentious. Usually, that's not a carte blanche statement.
Leicas. Wait, oh, you're a Leica guy. Am I allowed to bash Leicas?
Yeah, I mean you are.
Okay.
You are.
So I'm going to probably spend like 16% on average of this podcast bashing Leicas. And some of your audience are going to try to cancel me for that. That's fine. But I'm going to just put this out there because it always comes up. It's coming purely from a place of jealousy.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of my organs left because of all my medical stuff, so I can't sell my organs to fund Leicas. So it is purely out of jealousy. Okay.
I don't know that I should laugh at that, although it was funny.
Yeah, we can make fun of my medical situation.
I am curious. So from the beginning, like, let's talk. You're a photographer. Like, how did you get into the career? Like, when did it start? When did the passion strike for you? Like, what was the beginning, early stages of your career like?
So my background is not photography. I have a background in science and academia. I have a master's degree in evolutionary developmental psychology and did the whole like nerdy science research psychology route, published author and academic, super weird stuff. And then, so I was on track for a PhD doing that. And I was doing photography on the side, and I was selling the occasional landscape photo print of the Everglades back then. And then I had to leave grad school because of Crohn's disease. I got diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was like 20, 21, so years in and out of medical stuff. And I realized, like I don't come from a lot of money. My parents couldn't afford health insurance for me, and when I aged out of their health insurance, I'm an expensive person to keep alive, basically. So that didn't really work with my science career. And then, so after that, what did I do? I sold military semiconductors for a few years.
Wow.
So like little electronic components that, the same components that go in your iPhone, but, for like F-22 jets and space shuttle and SpaceX and like things where like failure is not an option sort of thing, which is weird. I'm like a super hippie liberal, selling the electronic parts. And just so your listeners are fully aware, like I didn't know what the fuck I was selling. I didn't design these. I knew nothing about how they worked. I just would put in like numbers and overcharge things and get paid for it. So that's all I did.
Nice.
But again, even during then, was playing with cameras. I come from a lot of photography in my family, just a lot of amateur hobbyist photographers. My dad grew up shooting. Both of my uncles on my dad's side, I'm sure my uncle on my mom's side did. One of my uncles, I think, worked for something that helped bring like Nikon to the States in like the 50s or 60s or something, helped popularize that. So I just kind of always grew up around cameras, but I never like my story is not like I knew I was going to be a photographer since I was like a newborn baby, and that's not true at all. But yeah, I just kind of fell more and more in love with it. I'm 163 years old.
You look pretty good for your age. Yeah.
So shot film like this film stuff way back when, and I got into digital. And 2007, my uncle gave me a hand-me-down Nikon D70. Yeah, Nikon
Mhm.
D70. And I think that's when I re-fell in love with photography and started taking it seriously, and just kind of built that and would do all the dumb things that, not dumb. That's I take that back. You don't have to edit that out, but apologies. It's not dumb. Like the Renaissance festivals and like
Yeah.
I had the website where it's like, here's literally every type of photography imaginable all in one website because that's what we
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And then the early model mayhem days, I did everything you're not supposed to do, like everything that just really, now looking back, is so cheesy and just cringeworthy. Like, oh, I'm gonna hang a wrinkly sheet as a backdrop and call myself a fashion photographer, like all the stuff.
I like hanging on a
That
wrinkly sheet. Honestly, it's just because I suck at doing laundry personally. But yeah, I'm okay
well,
with that.
ironically, I'm the one sound my phone might make. I think I forgot to turn off my laundry's ready alarm. But yeah, so I did that, and then I moved. Oh, also I did a bunch of drugs, a lot of fucking drugs. Um, I probably mentioned that. And
Was
then
that to
and then I
cope
decided,
with like being sick or whatever, or is that just like
no, drugs are
pre-diagnosis?
fucking fun. Um,
Yeah, yeah. No, I know.
yeah, no,
Just because.
they're
Okay, yeah,
fun. And then when you
yeah,
have someone like me who enjoys doing drugs in and out of hospitals. Like, I'm downplaying how serious a lot of the medical stuff was just because I know it's a shorter podcast. Yeah, in and out of hospitals for a decade, getting pumped full of some really heavy duty stuff, combined with someone who genuinely enjoys drugs. I don't blame my drug addiction on, I don't blame my medical issues for my drug addiction. It just became this perfect storm for me to take advantage of and become just a little shithead that did a bunch of
hmm
drugs and painkillers and opiates and all that. Lost a ton of friends. But anyway, so I decided to, one day I woke up and said, fuck it, I'm going to get sober. And my sister had gotten sober like a year or two before me. She moved from Florida to LA. And yeah, I went to detox. And then I said, all right, I'm going to get the hell out of Florida because I've always hated Florida. That I'm fine being on the record saying. And
yeah, same.
flew 3,000 miles to LA, quit my job selling semiconductors and checked into rehab. Did not know if I was going to be staying in LA, did not know anything. And then one day, literally in rehab, this dude with like tattoos all over his neck, like ex-prison junkie looking dude, comes in. He's like, "You Justin?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come with me." I'm like, "What the fuck is going on? Like, am I going into rehab and they're gonna kill me? Like, I feel like that's like against the law, but like, I'm not gonna fight this guy. I won't win. So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go." And we go. We pass like where the little rehab counselor's office was, and we go into this like utility closet. And he opens the door, and it's like the angels sang. He opens the door, and there's like six people stuck in this little closet, all with like IMAX and Photoshop and Illustrator up. And I'm like, the fuck is going on right now? He's like, they told me you're the one who's good with like the camera. I'm like, what is it? Like, am I being punked? And I was like, do you have a website up? And I didn't. I had my old Flickr up, and he saw the stuff there. He's like, oh, cool. Can you do some photography for the rehab? I was like, okay. And so long story short, the rehab, it was like this big multi-million dollar nonprofit Jewish rehab in LA that I went to. And they owned an advertising agency, like a little small marketing firm, basically. And they wanted to bring me on board as their photography intern. And I waited. I told them, I want you to give me like a month or so to like kind of settle into the rehab part. Otherwise, that's all I'm going to care about is cameras. And
Yeah.
yeah, a month or so came by, and the rabbi, the guy who is now one of my best friends, at the time scared the shit out of me, pulls me out of group. He's like, "Listen, motherfucker, we need you to shoot a magazine cover." I'm like, "It's too early. I'm not ready." He goes, "You're not fucking paying to be here. This is a nonprofit. We're letting you stay here so you could do this for us." I'm like, "Okay." So they gave me a little Canon 7D, and we shot this like multi-million dollar super bougie rich donor in her Century City multi-million dollar bougie apartment with a little Canon 7D that had, I think, two lights set up. One was a flashlight and the other one was an iPad light, and that was our little lighting setup. And she loved the magazine cover, and that was my first LA magazine cover. And yeah, so I stayed on board as an intern, and then they quickly made me staff. And I was looking forward to sort of learning and being an intern and learning from people under me. And I learned a lot about the business side, but I kind of had to reteach myself the photo side. And yeah, then I ran their photo and video department. And then, so in the process of all that, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in and be a photographer in LA. So did
That's
that
sweet.
for years. Yeah. Then I just wanted to spread my wings a little bit. So I went freelance, and I think I've been freelance ever since 2014, 15, something like that.
Wow. Yeah, I'm 3 years fully on my own, and good days, bad days, good weeks, bad weeks. I'm in the birth of like the best year of my life, like
Oh, nice.
work wise, creative wise, finance wise. Like I'm just fucking crushing and dominating right now, which is
Nice.
like, yeah, it makes everything else like puts other things into perspective, like how important things like your health and your family and your friends are to
Hmm.
you. And it's easy when you have like everything going in the right direction to like be appreciative of the things you have, not so much when you're dealing with drug addiction and being ill and sick. In those moments where you're kind of like in and out of like going through health issues, dealing with your addiction, did you find it impossible or hard to create at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been sort of a creative person, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I see a lot of my photographer friends talk about this, and I'm in no way sort of shitting on it at all. But I see a lot of them like, oh, I don't have the inspiration to create. I can only create when I'm inspired. I'm waiting for the muse to strike, so to say. And I'm just sort of like, just shut up and just like for me, just like shut up and show up and do the work. Very sort of like Stephen Pressfield-esque, like just
Hmm.
do the work. Like you just grind it out. Whether like there's absolutely times over the years where whether it's a corporate client, a fun artsy fartsy thing, that I get up and I'm like, I do not want to do this. I do not want to go create today, and you go do it anyway. Obviously, if you physically can't, you're in the hospital. That's a different
Sure.
situation. So yeah, so it hasn't been a hindrance, but and that was my MO for years. And then this past few years, like after the pandemic coming out and just dealing again for the first time in a decade. So I don't have a large intestine. I have an ileostomy bag. I'm just gonna say it. I don't poop like you normal humans do. Most of which I'm assuming are listening to the podcast. You like sit on the toilet. I just like my dog. I poop in a bag. Um, so that surgery was in 2011, and that was coming on the heels of a decade of back to back to back to back hospitalizations. And then it was, for the most part, 10 years of pretty smooth sailing medically. And then, so again, the pandemic didn't affect me from a Crohn's perspective. I was fine. I'm sorry, from a COVID perspective, I came out unscathed from that. And then I got sick with all the immune stuff, and I had quite a few different hospitalizations. I had an unrelated tailbone surgery, and then I had just a lot of gut related drama and a few hospitalizations, and another big, like fully, slice me 10 inches down the middle, rip me open and rearrange me, remove some more organs type surgery last year. Um, and so
Jesus.
that, again, like, and it was fine. Like, I can handle surgeries. Like, I have an unusual stoic threshold to sort of deal with that. But it's just been hard to sort of come back to that. And what's interesting is I sort of have the energy to go create. I don't have the desire to go create as much as I used to. Like I used to, be shooting just nonstop. Whether it was paid, trade, didn't matter. I had to create, 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 create. And it's cool. Like I built this portfolio that I'm super, super proud of. I could take 5 years off and post another photo, a few times a week that no one has ever seen. And and
Hmm.
and it's all still current and relevant and still feels like me. But I love the idea of sort of creating new stuff. Certainly in this like weird world that we're both in, the NFT world, I think that thrives more on sort of creating new. So I'm trying to get back into that a little bit, but totally losing train of thought. Apologies. But yeah,
Not
so I
at all.
just I realized, like, especially like getting a dog and everything again for the first time in like a decade. I want the slower life. You know that meme that you see on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think it's Matt Mikkelsen is the actor, and it's just like like it's a peaceful life. It's like, what do you do all day? I look at memes. It's a peaceful life. Like, forget about the look at memes part, but I want that. Like, my ideal world would be to go and maybe use the word fine art, sell a bunch of shit, and then
Yeah.
use that money and disappear for a couple of months and go just live quietly, create a new body of work, come back,
Hmm.
sell that, disappear again, and just repeat that process. And just, like, I'm not the partier. I'm not the chasing Lambos. I don't care about nice
Same.
stuff. I don't want nice clothes. I don't care about fancy cars. Sure, nice cameras are nice, but those
Yes.
are just a
Yes,
means
they
to an
are.
end anyway. I realized, like, someone the other day, or one of those like Instagram survey questions, like, what's your toxic trait? And I'm like, I think I value time more than money.
I think that's
And
a
in
genius.
LA with
Yeah.
the, no offense to Gary Vee, who I genuinely like, and we have a lot of real world mutual friends, but like the people who bastardize what he talks about and that hustle, grind, 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 like, that's cool. If that's what you want, like, go for it. I'm not actually knocking it. That's the opposite of what I want. I wanna wake up and just sit and just have coffee in silence, and like just sit next to my dog and do nothing and just be with my
Yeah.
thoughts.
I think you said a couple really important things there. Number one, I completely agree with you wholeheartedly. There is only one commodity in life that you really need to be concerned about, and that's with your time, because it is the only limited resource you have, period. I think you don't learn that lesson until you get a lot older. Like, I'm 37, so I think more
Oh, you're so
recently I've
young.
been able.
You're a baby.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
God.
How old
Justin,
do you
we
think I
just
am?
became best friends. I don't know,
Wait, how old do you
32,
think I am?
33. Yeah,
No.
32, 33. Well, you
Said
look a lot better than I
163
do.
earlier. No, I'll be I'll
Yeah.
be how
Well,
old am I? Actually, I'll be 43 in October.
all right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you look great for your age.
Thank you.
Um, for your age, you're still young as fuck. I see. I used to equate old age with being in your 40s, but now that I'm like on
Dude,
the cusp of it,
remember when we were like 15 and like 40-year-olds were angels? Like, that's it. You're gonna die. I mean, so what
it
what
puts a
what, what
lot
to me
of.
is cool is I turned 40 in the pandemic, right? Like October 2020, and I think I was like 260 pounds, something like that. Chain
Holy shit!
smoking. Yeah, like, not healthy. I mean, I've been sober for a decade at that point, so that was cool. I didn't, like, go back to the drug thing, but I just let myself go. Especially during that first year of the pandemic, and I'm like, I'm gonna get in shape and do the thing. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
that's so cliche. That is such a midlife crisis. I'm like, I'm gonna wait. This way I can do it on my terms, which was pure chicken shit. Like, I don't want to get my life together. And then
Yeah.
so in January of like 2021, I'm like, okay, it's time to get my life together. So yeah, I quit smoking. I lost like 60, 70 pounds. Like, I'm
Sick.
by no means like some musclehead junkie gym rat type guy. But I'm, even in spite of all the medical stuff, like, I'm in the best shape I've been in years. And like now I'm like, especially with the dog, and my dog is like me, super introverted, doesn't like public places and people. So, he's turned into like a little nature dog. And I'm like, I just want to become like one of those like wilderness hiking dudes with his dogs. Like, that's my goal.
Good. I vote. I vote for that. That sounds good.
And
But I'm
photograph
with you, man.
occasional naked people in the fog along the way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think so. A couple things. Like, I've only been in photography for full time for 3 years now, so it's like for
Okay.
me, it's like finding what my like style is, my
Mm-hmm.
passion, like what I want to create, and that like desire to create is always kind of there. It's like everything's new always, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
always something new, client, new person, new everything, so everything always feels excitable. But like similar to you, I've sort of built a life for myself that is supremely comfortable, that is exactly what I want, and time is the thing that I have most commodified in my life, because if it's Tuesday, I want to go take my dad for pancakes, at 10 a.m. in the
Mm-hmm.
morning. I don't have to answer anybody. I just go get fucking pancakes. You know what I mean? Similarly with like what work I accept. Like, if there's a company, a brand, a person, whoever that I don't want to work with, I just say, fuck it. I don't care. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to do stuff that I don't want to do, because I've realized the importance of my time in my life. And that's something that you're never going to get back. So that speaks to me a lot. I don't know about me living out in the woods, but yeah, I mean, all the other
Yeah, I
things
don't,
I
I
think
don't like, I talk good game about that, but the reality is, like, I don't even know how to pitch a tent. Like, I realize, like, I've been going to
you learn
REI,
quick
like,
if you lived in the woods.
yeah, no, I'm not, like, I don't want to become like the Unabomber and like really like live off grid. Like, that's not
Yeah,
what I'm talking about.
yeah, yeah.
I have friends that are all like, everyone sees my work, and they're like, oh, you're like a forest kid. You must hike like 40 miles to go. Like, no, like, half my shots, I'm literally like parked on the side of the road, leaning on my car. Like, that, we're not going far at all. Like, I don't know how to survive in the
I would
woods.
say that is surprising to hear. Because like a lot of your work, like you said, take someone naked, put them in the woods, take a picture of them. it does scream fine art
That
to
really
me, and
sounds
I can
really
say
like scary when you phrase it like that.
little. I mean, okay, take someone willingly and consensually,
Yes.
get them naked,
But no,
put them
people
in the
reach out
woods.
to me. They're like, I wanna be in your work. I wanna hire you to do that. I want to be part of it and go create art. But I can't handle like I can't handle like hiking super far. I'm like, no, we're literally just driving on the side of the road. And the nice thing about fog is it obscures views, so you can look like you're really far from civilization, and
Yeah,
you're not. You're right there. Or, it's just I absolutely no offense to the big influencers and the ones who have to hit all the Instagram hotspots and the selfies in the Grand Canyon and Vasquez Rocks and all these places that are just popular. Like I'd love to see the Grand Canyon. I want to. I could give two shits about shooting a naked human there. Like I just want to go see it.
yeah,
Take an iPhone photo.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I'm not
yeah.
going to do any justice to the Grand Canyon more so than anyone else has already done. Just
Totally.
I'm not. So I'd rather just see it with my own eyes. What I love is people are like, I don't know where you shot that. Wait, do you live in California? I thought you lived in the Pacific Northwest, sort of thing. And some of these places are
Hmm.
20 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
So I like that sort of. It's not about the place. It's about sort of just I don't know whatever the mood, the emotion, whatever you want to call it.
I also like that a lot of times it's not even about the person in the photo
Mm-hmm,
because they're either completely obscuring their face, they're
mm-hmm,
facing backwards or upside down or whatever.
mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about that process because, like, I find your work to be very emotional, very evocative, very. Um, there's a feel to it when you like come across it, and that's like the first Instagram post. Then the second is the dog, and the third is the cat. I mean, we'll
That's
get to
just
that
yeah.
later.
That's
But talk
shenanigans.
talk to me a little bit about the process because listen, I don't need to boost your ego at all. I do really appreciate your work a lot. I find it
Thank you.
it speaks to me in a way that like other people's work doesn't. So I like coming across people who create work that is wholly unique and speaks of themselves versus someone who's just doing something that everyone else has done a million different times. So
Thank you.
talk to me a little bit about your process and sort of like what comes into creating one of your images.
So first thing is I just open Mid Journey and then I type a prompt. No, I've been a beta tester for
Nice.
years. No, I'm not
Nice.
even shitting on AI. I love AI. 99.9999999% of my work was not AI, and the few things that I have posted AI, I absolutely mention that. But no, my
Yeah.
real work. Yeah, I don't know. Like I have this outdated kind of bougie history artist statement on my website that a friend of mine, Larissa, she like bless her heart, she convinced me and did a great job kind of mentoring me to pull that out of myself because I suck at talking about that stuff. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I've always kind of had this like theme, like this running theme, and again, I'm sure it parallels my own life. This kind of like hope in the struggle, and I think that's kind of why I like gravitate towards these like colder photos, colder environments, and like uncomfortable feeling poses. And I never want someone to look at one of my photos, whether it's a professional model I'm shooting with, whether they're clothed, naked, male, female, irrelevant. I never want the first thought that someone's like, oh my God, that person is so hot. You know what I mean? And there's so
Um,
muof social media
Same.
photos where it's just look at this person, they're hot. Again, whether guy, girl, whether it's for advertising, for porn, whatever, it's just like about the person and how they look. And I don't even like I have nothing against that. Like pro everything, like whatever, do your thing. But that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
I
I like
want
that.
people to sort of just almost like not have a word for it. And I kind of think that sounds a little bit highfalutin and going past my not using the word fine art, but like something just more sort of visceral. Um,
Yeah. No,
like
I
to
appreciate
me,
that.
it's
That speaks to me a
yeah,
lot.
like
Yeah.
music is a big inspiration to me. Not in terms of like lyrics or anything, but just like one of my favorite bands, Tool or something, or Nine Inch Nails or Wu Tang or Metallica, whoever, right? Like when I listen to some of these songs and that wordless sort of feeling that comes up, like I I think I fail 99% of the times in my photos of doing that, but occasionally when when that one hits and I can look at a photo and be like, I feel something looking at this, and I hope that that comes through to sort of the viewer and the audience. And when you see it and you're just like, again, it's so cheesy, but that concept of like stopping the scroll, right? Like, sadly, we're not viewing most photos, in galleries anymore, or even on computer screens. It's just like, yeah. And yes, I have my dog as my background. And yes, I have a Chat GPT link right on my home page. I am the future. Um,
I am the future.
what do you call it? That was super pretentious. I'm not at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I think everyone knows you're kidding.
yeah, nothing I'm saying is
You know,
it's all
I'm
true,
glad
but
you said
nothing
that
is
though.
serious.
Yeah, no, dude, but like, if truly, because like, like I shoot a lot of nude stuff too, and like I think you try to like, at least for me, it's like there's it's a pretty fine line between intimate and sexual, and I
Hmm.
don't want to portray the sexual. I want to portray the intimate, and I want to sort of pause a moment that is soft and tender, not like
Hmm.
boobs. Do you know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
think
Yeah.
like if you're able, like as you are, to relay that story with an image, you've succeeded, and in your work, you've succeeded in doing that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot about the male gaze and all that stuff, and again, like I agree with it. I like there's you can see a lot of that work. There's like that page, trendy photography memes or whatever, that just shits on like a lot of the classic, like model mayhem looking type trash. And I'm not even anti like sex type photos and trashy photos. Like, if someone wants to do
Yeah,
that and everyone's consenting, like, fucking go for it. Like,
yeah, do you? It's
I
just not
shot
for
weird
me.
erotic stuff. Yeah. And even like the weird erotic stuff, I try to put my own spin on that. And that stuff really is about sexuality. It's blatant in your face type stuff. But the more JSR photo-y, like artsy fartsy shit, it's even like, I hate the fact that, and again, like, you and I are in a lot of the same like social photography circles on Twitter, Instagram, and so many people make such a big deal about the nudity part. And again, I get all the shadow ban and censorship. Like, I'm anti-censorship. Like, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. But they make such a big deal about whether a photo is nude or not, and how that should be a selling point. I
Yeah,
don't think it's a big deal to me. Like, it's like, it should
it's
just be
so
a
silly,
non-issue.
honestly.
It's
Yeah,
yeah, it's either like, sure, like, yeah, like 7-year-olds probably shouldn't be looking at our work. I get that, like,
sure.
but it's not like, I don't think it's I don't think the
Although they
fact that,
probably
like,
see worse, right?
sure, yeah. Um,
Nowadays.
my almost 11-year-old nephew is obsessed with South Park, and I just hear nonstop Cartman, like, and I was
Hey,
like, "Ooh, shit."
yeah,
Um,
definitely worse than your
yeah.
photography for sure.
But like this whole like fine art nude thing, like, again, not shitting on it, like, and again, I'm probably saying all this much to the dismay of my bank account, because if I did sort of dive in and really kind of not exploit, but like capitalize on that side of it, I feel like I could probably make more money. But I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think that should
Yeah,
be a selling point to me. It's just like, okay, this is a photograph. Same thing, like, I don't know what type of photographer can consider myself. Like, they're not really portraits. They're not really fine. Like, I don't know. I'm just a photographer.
yeah.
I just want to
That's like
fucking
when
like
people ask me,
punch you in the solar
yeah,
plexus.
yeah.
And,
People ask me that question all the time. Like, what kind of photography do you? I was like, I don't know. I take pictures, like, of whatever I want. If you want me to shoot
yeah,
your product, I will
even
shoot your product. If you want me to
yeah, like
shoot
in
fucking whatever, I'll shoot it. As long as it's like something that speaks to me and like something that I'm excited to collaborate with and create for. But if it's
oh
like,
no,
hey,
I'm a total whore for the little bit of money that I make. Like, even if you want me to shoot something that doesn't speak to me, like, if I'm getting paid, I have very little artistic morality if I'm getting paid. Like,
all
fine.
right, fair enough.
Like, the bulk of my work no one ever sees, because it's not
Yeah,
even that it's bad or anything like that. I just don't post it on social media. But like, I work with a ton of local like small brands and small businesses, just doing just content for them for social media, and just like coffee shops, or like, I have
yeah,
a whole portfolio of, like, I've
yeah.
shot over like 70 different auto mechanics in LA, like just random shit,
Wow,
like just super random. I actually love shooting
wow.
mechanics because they hate being
Yeah,
on camera. And then
yeah,
just a bunch of like, for the most part, just like greased up, like, mechanic-y type, covered in tattoo, like scruffy beards. And they absolutely hate being on camera. And I love the fact that their boss is making them do it, so they don't have a choice. And then I'll go and take a picture of them and I'll show it to them. They're like, okay, wait, I kind of like that. They're like, that feels good to me.
Yeah. No,
um,
I mean, yeah, especially getting someone who hates having their photo
yeah,
taken to like
I
appreciate what you've
like,
done.
I like that I live in LA, but my work is not LA, even though I'm not
Yeah.
anti LA. Like a lot of the people I
I am
work with,
I admittedly I
you
am
are anti.
anti LA.
Yeah, you're East Coast, right? New York,
Yeah, yeah, I'm in New Jersey. Yep.
New Jersey. Well, okay, I'm from New
Same
York,
thing.
so and I still have family
I
in Jersey, out in like Emerson, that whole area, Fort Lee.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but so a lot of the people I work with are sort of traditional, like agency models, and they have to constantly show up and get caked in makeup and smile and be on their A game. And when we go out to shoot, it's like, no, don't care if you wear makeup or not. You don't even have to show your face. You don't have to smile. You don't have to be happy. We can be,
Yeah.
we can, spend 6 hours driving around the forest therapizing, and go just take like one moody photo, and that's a successful day.
I got to tell you, I'm coming off yesterday. It was like one of my most fun shoots I've had in a while. And this model reached out to me on Instagram. We linked up. We shot yesterday, and it was just such a fun, easy process. And it was one of those things where the act of creating just like gave me that feeling again that I got originally when I started doing it.
Hmm.
Because it's easy when you're going through the slog, like you said, shooting 70 fucking auto mechanic things. Like maybe you enjoy it a little bit, but like that's work, right? That's doing the
Yeah. Oh,
job.
for sure.
But
For
like when
sure.
you're just like creating for the sake of creating, like man, yesterday I walked off set, I felt like $1 million. Like it just like, and the work was good and I'm really happy with it. I shot a lot more film than digital, and to me that's a
Hmm.
successful day. Like I just like it made me realize and reiterate why I do this, like what the reasoning was behind it, the people, the it's just like all good. And yeah, it's I get what you're saying, man. I do.
Yeah. And but I mean, like I pretend to be this like introverted curmudgeon kind of asshole, not asshole, but just kind of like judgy, just sort of like away from sort of the main type character online, and it's true. No, I am introverted. That is 100% true.
I
I'm
like
slightly
curmudgeon.
curmudgeonly. Yeah,
I like
definitely
that.
curmudgeonly. Um, but I've softened up. Like I have friends that make their whole living doing, just corporate headshot photography. And,
It's great work.
they're doing it for the money, but they also like they genuinely love it. Like they get a thrill out of some fancy lawyer seeing their photo and saying how much they love it. And I used to like done I shoot plenty of corporate headshots. Again, don't post that work, but I shoot them, and it's cool. Like pays the bills and all that. And yes, it does feel nice when someone's like, "Oh, I like this photo of me," but I have zero attachment to it whatsoever. Or like, I have
Hmm.
friends that do wedding stuff, and I've second shot weddings purely for the money. Um, and
That's one
I
job
could,
I can't do.
yeah, no, I can't anymore because I can't stay up
Yeah,
late. But
sure.
also like I feel like to be a really successful wedding photographer, you have to love weddings. Like I don't go to my friends' weddings. I like don't invite me to a wedding. I don't want to go. Like you know what I mean? Like that is curmudgeon. Maybe that part is real. It's just like, but I don't want to shit on sort of whatever people genuinely feel like. I have friends that photograph like miniature toys. Do you know what I mean? Like a toy panda sitting, in like a surrounded by Jedi or something, and they'll post these in the forums and get like super granular. Like I have 73 aperture lights lighting this and smoke machines and all this, and it's like their pride and joy. Like awesome, more power to you.
That's
Like
crazy. But yeah.
I've softened, yeah, I've softened up on sort of my shit on things that I don't like thing. Just like even
Yeah.
like with the music, like you
That happens
know,
with age, dude. That's what happens
yeah,
with
no,
age.
it really does. Like I can't stand Justin Bieber, but if someone looks at my photo and feels what I feel when I hear like a Trent Reznor lyric that just punches my soul, but they feel looking at my photo what their Bieber song, at their college graduation that played. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I
Yeah.
go along, but it's not my place to tell people sort of how to feel. It's also not my place to tell people how to interpret what I do. That's why I
Hmm.
tend to not get super detailed about the whys, and like people sometimes will ask me like, does this mean this in your photo? Oh, if it does to you, sure, go for it.
I agree with that. Like I think that is probably my favorite part about the art is that like I allow everyone else to fill in the blank. Like that's not up
Hmm.
for me to decide. Like sure, there's a reason why I took the photo, right? There's especially like the street photography stuff. I mean, that's I love nothing more than getting out, walking, 6 7 miles a day in New York City and just snapping film like a maniac and making myself completely broke. But it's my favorite thing to do. And to be fair, that is a lot of place where people can fill in the why for the work, right? Like,
Hmm.
what does it mean to you? What are you trying to feel? What I'm trying to convey when I take the image is erroneous. Like, doesn't matter at all. It's up for you to decide like how it makes you feel. And I think that's like one of my favorite parts about photography.
But even so, to play devil's advocate to what you just said, and to go back to sort of, there's also nothing wrong if you do want to explicitly say and slap people in the
Yeah,
face. This is what I'm trying to say with my work. Especially like some
absolutely.
some political art, like it's fucking blatant, and like
Yeah.
there's no, the more I realize, like there's, it's that God, so many people. I'm going to say a word. Um, there's one of my best friends, Melissa. If you're listening to this, fuck you, because you're gonna never let me go that I said this. Mindset. Um, there's it's just like you can there's this like mindset of scarcity that you have, like everything had, like you can only have one type of photography, one type of this, one type of that, and again, like it's more of that like mindset of abundance, like there's enough for everyone.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, it's one of
Can we
those things
delete
where it's
that?
like, no,
Can we
I'm
just
not.
delete that?
No,
Okay.
no, I like it. I agree, dude. Like,
No,
listen,
no, more just because I'm worried that my friend Melissa is gonna could see this and literally never let me live this down, because she's like a mindset type. I hate that word.
realistic, she's not gonna watch, so it's okay. Well,
I know.
it's
No,
okay.
because I'm gonna tell her.
Um,
And yeah, she's not even supposed to start a podcast. Like we're just gonna fucking like talk. And
talk
she's
about mindsets.
basically she's like a sister, even though she's not my sister. And we argue all the time whenever we talk. So we just want to record ourselves arguing, basically. Yeah,
I would subscribe to that
I'm gonna
podcast
tell
for sure.
her that we're in the seventh episode of the podcast I did with her, but she hasn't been around, so I used an AI to be her.
You should do that,
You know,
and I'm still your first subscriber, so I'm with
there you go.
that.
Deal.
I think it's cool that like we've sort of linked up like across the worlds, from a fucking little Twitter thing and become in real
Yeah.
life
Do we
friends.
do we link up because of Twitter or Instagram?
Instagram,
Because
Twitter,
we
it
know a
was
lot of the
probably
same.
Twitter.
Yeah.
It's probably like an
But I
NFT
like that
space.
they're kind of merging. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for me, I'm not really in the NFT space anymore. Like I think it was big when the world was shut down and you couldn't really do anything and it was
Hmm.
fun and it was like really exciting and I met a million fucking amazing human beings that I'm super glad to be my friends now. But like the actual art and creation in the NFT space is not really for me anymore. Like I've
Hmm.
just like outgrown it in terms of like what I want out of it. And that's not to say that anyone else could do whatever the fuck they want. I had a
Yeah.
roundtable couple months ago with some friends, some NFT artists, some like contemporary artists, like all talking about it and stuff. I think it's really interesting, and I think like if it's for you, let it be you. If it's not, let it not. Who cares? No one's right, no one's wrong. Just live your life. But I think the best part about it is that you get to meet people along the way. I, for the first time, felt like I found like a community and like people that I could talk to about work and like creative processes and like learning and like trying to get better and like level up my own skills like through these spaces. And like you've obviously been one of those people along that way. You've been in the industry a lot longer than I have. Is it easier as time goes on to sort of like create that? Um, you know, God, I don't even want to say that. Like your little tribe, like your local group of people, because I've found that like I'm just barely scratching the surface in terms of being able to build community around my stuff locally because I'm just like so shortly into it. But like I'm
Right.
hopeful that like as the journey continues that it grows.
So it's an interesting word you chose there, tribe. Right.
I
Like
know.
I flash back to like Seth Godin's like Tribe, that book, and that sort of like find your tribe and build your community and all this stuff. And I don't think they're wrong. I think, um, especially in light of the past few years, I think going down the road of tribalism is a bit dangerous. I don't think it's the wrong word. I just think it's sort of shifted in my own views of how I look at that. again, especially after the pandemic, especially after all the George Floyd stuff, the election stuff, January 6th, like I really kind of like I got really affected by social media and all of that, and
Hmm.
seeing how many of my friends um, became not friends with each other because of differing stuff. And I, again, I'll
Political
say it, and
mostly.
yeah, and political, yeah, yeah. And you turn or anti-Leica or um,
It's a little different than
yeah.
pro
Uh,
MAGA and anti
it's
Leica. It's
it's
slightly
it's not.
different.
It's the same. Red dot, red Republican. No, this is come on. This is Illuminati shit. Sorry, sorry, sorry,
Fuck.
Brayden.
I never,
Sorry,
I
Brayden, if
never,
you're listening to this. Um,
that was so funny.
I don't know A, where I was going with that,
It's
and
all right.
B, how I got
But
there. Okay, no, I do know where I was going. Okay, try. So yes, apologies to any of your audience. I am a card carrying super hippie liberal. That's fine.
ditto.
But I
I mean,
also
not
am
hippie,
a
but I am
yeah,
liberal.
I'm not really happy either. I'm a huge fan of very actively making sure that you don't just exist in your tribal echo chambers, if you will.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah. I
and
meant the
again,
question more along the lines of like finding
yeah,
like-minded
building your
people
own
in
like
the
audience.
creative space. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, there's a reason I'm saying that is even with that is I think crossing crossing genres, disciplines, crossing platforms, crossing cultural paradigms, like to build your community, to build a sort of more robust tribe and used in the right way, um, more than just that hyper local thing. Do you know what I mean? I
Hmm.
think again, you and I have a mutual friend, Sienna, right? That she's gonna find out that we did this podcast, and eventually she and I are gonna work together.
12 hours.
Her, like,
Yeah.
right, and like that is a sort of like a Venn diagram in the middle of my tribe and your tribe, right? So
Hmm.
I'm that's why I'm like intentionally not answering your question about building that local thing because it doesn't matter anymore. And this is where
Hmm.
every day when I wake up, my first thought is I want to burn all of my electronics and quit all social media. And then I remember that you and I wouldn't be talking if not for social media. That
That's fair.
90% of the people that I've worked with, I probably would not have met if not for social media. That I wouldn't have, my big dopey dog who's in most of my Instagram photos on the second slide now, who's sleeping right here at my feet just out of frame, wouldn't have him if not for social media. So it's, like all these,
I
I don't
think
know
if you're
where
able
I'm
to
going.
remove
I
the
think you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
no, I know what you're
It's,
saying. I think if you're able to remove like the toxic aspects of social media, i.e., the hyper polarization of it, the
mm-hmm,
hyper tribalization of it, drilling people down to their most intimate terribleness in most cases, you
mm-hmm,
can get some incredible benefits from it, i.e., meeting someone
yeah.
from across the world and having a
Yeah, and I'm
podcast
not
with
saying that the terrible like I'm not naive. Like there are
you. No, I'm
terrible
saying
things
that.
said by terrible people on social media. Full stop. Period.
Yeah.
Absolute horrible human beings. So I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm trying to navigate how do I exist in that world while not letting that affect me, but also understanding that does affect certain people and populations much more than me, and
Totally.
just trying to balance that, which is
I'm
totally
super.
left field of how to build, more
Yeah.
just hey John, I want to shoot community
Yeah.
in a local thing.
No, no,
But I
no.
think
I
photographers have it rough because unless we're like the Annies or the Avedons of the world. I don't know about you, but no one's flying me to Montclair, New Jersey to go take a photo tomorrow. Is anyone flying you to LA? Like, I don't think we have that kind of like
Not yet.
pull.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there. And like
Yeah.
I think that like the opportunities in my life are endless because I've like created that ability for myself. Like anything I want will happen. I believe that.
Hmm.
Um, currently, right now, no, not so much. No, but it's okay. I mean, it's all like a matter of time. Like I've literally I hate it because like you say hippie liberal whatever. I was very
I
much a
don't know
very
why I say hippie. I'm
pragmatic.
not a hippie, but
That's all right. I used to be like a just a very stoic, pragmatic person. Like life is what you make of it. You make whatever amount of money you make based on whatever job you have, however hard you work. Like it was like all very linear. Like there was no space for, well, I can manifest the things that I want in life. I can believe things into reality. But like I fucking literally out of thin air built a life for myself that is exactly what I wanted it to be. And like that's it. Full stop. I did it. So like now I don't think there's any limitations to what I can accomplish in life. I can put my mind to something and I can get it because I've done it already. So like why what would
Yeah,
stopping me
yeah.
from doing it
And it's
ever
funny,
again?
I'm hearing this and I hear this and I'm just like this has to get me to some quiet farmland with just some chill animals. Like I'm not
I mean, if
you use
that's what
that
you
word
want,
you
like
use yeah, use that word manifest. That's a
yeah,
word that I hate and
me too.
and makes my whatever like abdominal organs I have left, which are actually not many. Like I'm missing
Yeah.
quite a few in there. That makes those like boil and turn. And and I keep hearing it and I like from a sort of non metaphysical place that manifests like you can put work into the manifest and actually bring a stoic mindset to that, which is exactly what you're saying you did. And it's funny, like I've been in this industry longer than you, but you're doing exactly what I should be doing, and that like so thank you, that's a bit inspirational.
You're welcome. Let me be a lesson. I like I am very much a do as I say, not as I do. But now
Oh,
I've like
same,
reversed
yeah.
that as I've gotten older. Because like in my 20s, I used to give amazing dating advice. I used to write online for like Elite Daily, and I got featured in Cosmo and Huffington Post. Like I was like writing all these like dating columns. My dating life was a fucking joke and a mess. But like here I was, do as I say, not as I do. Now it
Hmm.
is do as I do because I've got this shit figured out. I've figured it out. Like I've figured my life out to a T. I've built my perfect life, and that's it. Now do as I do. So you're welcome. I am
Thank you.
curious
Yeah.
though. Like you mentioned the various missing organs and stuff. Talk to me
Yeah,
about
I'm an
like your
open
own.
book. You can ask. I mean, it's a shitty situation.
Well,
It is what it is.
I'm curious. Just like talk to me, just like about like frequently butting up against your own morality. I think like I only have one real
Morality or mortality? Because I butt
mortality.
against both.
Mortality.
Okay, I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
butt up against both.
Mortality.
I have some
Um,
non-traditional morality views too, but it's a whole separate conversation. I'm not like a murderer, like or I don't like condone like like I believe in law.
yeah.
Also,
Okay.
not sure
So
I believe in free will. I'm not sure I believe in sort of
we'll
we
get
can
into that.
dive philosophical. Okay,
I'm
mortality.
super
Yeah,
I'm
no,
super
I think
curious.
about that a lot.
Yeah.
It's super cliche and cheesy, but right, memento mori. Like remember you will die. I'm going to die. For years, I didn't think I would be alive this long, and I think that's part of why I mentioned like getting in shape and sort of like switching my life around. Like, oh fuck, I made it past 40. Like that was I was not prepared for this. Like there's a very real chance, with modern medical advances, I might make it to 80, maybe 90. If
Hmm.
things keep progressing, maybe more. I don't, and I don't want to. If I do make it to 80, I don't want to be a miserable 80-year-old. I want to be able to still have a dog that I can walk, and I want to be able to. I don't want kids. We're planning on having my own, but I'm super close with my nephew. I have a brand new nephew who's just born, and if they end up having kids, like I want to be able to like pick up a family member. I want to be able to, like my grandmother, she fell in her bathroom while she was still alive, and she was like 90, 80 something years old, and she, had her phone for emergencies, and I guess couldn't get to it, and she couldn't pick herself up off the bathroom floor, and she was in there for like three days or something like that, until my aunt
Oh,
came over. And again, she lived through that. I don't want to ever be able to fall and not be able to get back up, by myself.
yeah.
So, my goals with, getting living are sort of like not aesthetic per se. Like, don't get me wrong, I like that I occasionally have a little vein in my bicep now. Like, that's kind of cool. I don't have abs. I'll never have abs. Like, that's just not physically possible given how many times I've been sliced and diced. I have the
Yeah.
world's worst calves.
Oh,
Johnny,
so weirdly, I have the world's greatest calves. No, I'm not
See,
even
I hate you.
exaggerating.
Fucking hate you. Johnny Swap Different, who, he is in the NFT space. He's got like the world's nicest calves. Like I am now
Yeah.
officially on record saying that, and I am okay with that. But yeah, I
Yeah,
do
dude,
not have
I've
genetically gifted calves.
hilariously genetically, yeah. Yeah. Some guy tried telling me, he was like, bro, you only have nice calves because you're a big guy. I'm like, nah, dude. When I was 70 pounds and I was like in second grade, I had fucking killer calves. These things are just natural. They're
Yeah,
beauties.
no, like I was on a
But dude,
walk this
it's
morning. We were hiking with the dogs this morning, and this runner like ran past on this trail. My friend Elizabeth, I was like, forgive me if I'm drooling over this guy's calves. Like I am so jealous right now. Like they
dude,
all
it
like
makes me
see
think of
both
that.
little muscles. Yeah. Oh
Do you remember the MTV True Life I'm Getting Plastic Surgery and the guy got calf implants?
no, I remember that
Do you don't remember
show, but
this?
I don't remember that episode. Or I remember
It is
True
so
Life. Like
funny. It's so funny. The guy's like typical Jersey Shore, Staten Island Guido guy, like
yeah,
barbed wire tattoos, like whatever, meathead, like full tan head to toe, ripping the gym. Like I have the best body ever, but I have the shittiest legs ever. So he pays like $30,000 to get fucking calf implants, and they look no different. Like there's no visible distinction between the pre and post. And he's like, I've never been happier. I've never gotten more women in my life.
oh my
Like
god. So
it's just
I'm gonna appeal to your audience. I'm gonna look right at the camera. Please buy my art so that I can invest and get better calves. And I'm not going to do plastic surgery. I just want to have more time to go create more art to sell, so I could walk distances to do that. But no, okay. So mortality. So yeah, just all this
yeah.
stuff. Like, I mean, it's so cheesy, but like you and I could hang up off this call, and I could go out to get the mail, and randomly a chunk of my roof, like maybe there's termites in there, and I have no idea, it could fall and crush me. Like I could
Hmm.
die.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that. I do have some irrational fears, which is weird because even though I'm in the woods a lot doing photography, I have an irrational fear of mountain lions and bears, and I spend a lot of time in mountain lion and bear country. Um, but as far as mortality, yeah, I mean, statistically, I'll probably die earlier than most because of everything I've been through. Oh well, what can I do? Still gonna
Yeah.
wake up. I didn't. I'm not dead yet.
Yeah. No, I like that. I candidly, it's the only fear I really have in life is like dying, and then like I guess like the health and well being of like my family and friends.
Mhm.
Those are like my only rational or maybe irrational at times fears. But I think as you get older and your own mortality gets
But even
into
my
your
morality has changed over the years. But
same. I've gotten a lot softer in my old age, and like I have gotten much more uh kind and understanding and accepting because I think when you get older, like it's just a numbers game. There's right now I still probably have more days in front of me than I do behind me, but at some point when that changes, you have less in front of you than behind you. I think it's like an eye-opening realization that the things that you think matter probably don't. Like I don't fight with people on the internet. Like why? For what
yeah,
purpose?
and
Like
again, like as someone who
mostly
has done plenty of that, like
yeah.
there's so many better ways to spend, my time. Like I just see
Yeah.
everyone like getting in on the latest, the drama du jour, if you will. Again, whether that's in the photography space, the crypto space, the political space. And I'm not saying that things don't matter, like they do. And if everyone didn't chime in and no one fought, then there would never be change. So it's trying to find that
The
balance.
happy
Do you know what I
balance.
mean? But
Yeah.
like, writing a politician, calling a politician, going to a protest, voting, like that to me is a better way to, you know, help affect change rather than arguing with John 6573 USA Budweiser, with the American flag
Yeah.
emoji, who has,
Yeah.
one follower on Twitter and writes in libtard, like
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it
I agree.
depends.
I agree. I also think that like when you realize that a lot of this stuff is just inherently never going to change, at least not in our lifetimes, sans a
Even though I don't
cataclysmic.
know, like I don't know, I just I don't I really like it. There's so much I don't know. That's why.
Yeah. Talk to me. I'm very curious. You said free will. You don't think we have free will?
I don't think I don't know if we do. That's a whole other. Literally, that's a whole other podcast.
I'm very curious. Yeah, not give me your high level notes because like I feel like ultimately like everything in life there are reasons why things happen. I don't think it's like, I picked up this Canada Dry today and then now tomorrow I'm gonna break my leg. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it's like that connected, but I
Yeah.
do believe things happen in life for a reason, and I think they happen because of what we do and how we choose to make them happen. I
Tell me a
think.
book. Give me a name of a book. Any book.
Um, Catcher in the Rye.
Name another book.
Jesus, the Bible.
Okay. Name a food.
Apple.
Okay. Um, Name a type of camera.
Canon. R5.
Why'd you choose all those?
Free will.
But where did that specific why Canon versus Nikon? What gave you that precursor thought to do that? Did you really control that? I don't know the answer. I
Yeah.
get
Ooh,
lost.
okay.
I get lost in the sauce. It's not saying that I'm not saying there's some little like mystical homunculus inside that's going. There's a question we're gonna feed out.
Like the movie Inside Out.
Yeah, Apple
It's
Apple versus whatever.
pizza.
It's just it's like a 4-year-old who's constantly asking why, and every time you answer something, okay, well, why that? Like, where is the sort of the genesis of that?
That's a great question.
And I don't know the answer.
I don't either. I think
That's why
that's like
I can't definitively say that we do or don't. I know
yeah.
he's a super controversial figure for a lot of reasons, but Sam Harris has quite a few good podcasts and sort of stuff on this and kind of the
I don't think
neuroscience
I
of
even
free
know.
will. Yeah,
I don't know who he
I
is.
mean, offline I can point you to some stuff,
Okay.
but
Um, I am curious. What do you think happens when we die?
we stop living.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And anything
We
else?
stop living. I don't think anything
And that
happens. I don't believe in an afterlife. I don't believe in heaven, hell. It's not even saying like believe in God. I'm still on the fence about a lot of that stuff. I don't.
to be fair,
I'm sort
God could
of
just be like an AI key, right?
yeah. Maybe my dog
To
is
be
God. I don't know.
could be.
Yeah. No. I don't really believe in a lot, but I don't not believe either. If that makes sense. It's I
Yeah, why
take a
does that make you
very
agnostic?
yeah, but I'm not really agnostic. I'm sort of spiritual in my own ways. Like it's sort of like a deeply personal version of that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I
Not
was
does.
raised like yeah, I was raised Jew-ish, dash
Yeah.
ish.
Yeah.
But also I went to Catholic mass for 4 years. I used to shit on religion a lot. I don't as much anymore. Like, again, one of my best friends is a rabbi. I go to like I'm part of like a nerdy spiritual book study every Saturday morning. I have been for 10 years now. So I like to I like to think that I don't know anything, and the more that I do know, the less that I realize that I actually know.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and again, I didn't come up with that idea, but I love that idea, and even just coming from a background of data-driven science and academia and the scientific method, there's a lot of questions, and I used to focus more on finding out the answers. Now I'm more focused on sort of the questions. um,
Mm.
and again, like, I know AI is such a hot button topic and super controversial and everyone's panicking about this, that, and the other thing, and I'm fairly neutral on it, neutral to pro, definitely. I have friends that are worried that their headshot business is going to be put out because of AI. Like, I'm not discounting that. Like, that may happen. I am more going, okay, in 5 years from now, can AI figure out how to actually fold space and time and what that looks like? And maybe my belief that there aren't alien civilizations will be proven wrong, and maybe they can help us cure cancer.
I think so. I
I mean,
agree
just
with
throwing
you.
out like a super top level hypothetical.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I mean it's such a gigantic subject to be able to granularize it, it would be impossible. I do agree. There are plenty of causes for concern, and there are plenty of use cases for the fact that it could be transformative for society.
Hmm.
It's like with anything in the world, it depends whose hands it's in. If your
Hmm.
intentions are inherently not good, then your use of it is going
Yeah,
to
well, that's
be
why
not good.
I see so many. again, I'm gonna kind of shit on them a little bit, but so many of my artist friends who were just like, stop all AI and all this, and they're just coming from because they're worried that their photo might be used in 1% of 1% of 1% of
Oh my
some
god.
thing that Midjourney used because someone put a prompt about a fantasy image.
Yeah.
But they want all AI to stop. The reality is, like, like without naming specific countries that are up to nefarious things, I guarantee you they're not fucking stopping research on how to use AI in really shitty
Of
ways.
course not. Yes, exactly. And no, I completely agree with you. Yeah, like my
Crazy.
belief of it is my utilization of it has been very limited. I think it's cool. The people who are able, I mean, I had Moonlight Sierra on the podcast. Her work is so fucking cool, amazing. She's an incredible artist. I could never do what she does, right? That doesn't discredit what she's just doing because she's doing it with a computer. Just as
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't make something that someone does physically in the world better because it happens here. To me,
And it's so funny
just
because, like, yeah, like
uh,
so much of my circles are in the art space, and that's where so much like anti-negativity is coming from it. And I'm trying to look at it from the sort of societal space of like, can it help bridge those gaps that humans can't seem to cross yet. And again,
mhm.
yes, I know there's dangers with that. I get that. And I'm not worried about the Skynet AI is taking over. I'm more worried about like the bad actors using it in bad ways, sort of thing. But
Totally.
yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I think I was listening to a podcast. I don't even remember who it was the other day, but they were talking about some study that looked back across hundreds of thousands of years of human civilization, and in sort of thriving times and thriving civilizations, leaving aside the fact that a lot of those got there by shitting on other cultures and civilizations. But when times were good, um, and there was economic prosperity, like some things rose to the surface that people naturally wanted to gravitate towards was like food, sex, and art. And I'm like, that kind of sounds like a fun life.
Yeah, right.
Like if
Sex, drugs, and
like
rock and roll.
yeah, if AI is taking over a lot of stuff and we can go and like that's like I don't know, I'm not worried about
I
AI
get
taking my
people.
job.
I know, and like similarly, like I get people who can like like copywriters, like people who can like genuinely be impacted by AI. I would understand their concerns, but I feel like we are a far cry from job elimination being, a real physical thousands of people thing. We're a far
Hmm.
cry from there, which is a good thing, and we may be there at some point, but we're not.
Yeah.
I am like you, much more interested to see how can it develop alternate therapies for disease, and if can it come up with alternate strategies for investing, like there's a million things that it can do that, like, because it doesn't think like a human being, it could come up with new creative solutions to problems that we never thought of, which I, for one, am excited about.
So,
Dude, man, I could talk to you for probably 10 more hours, but
same. We
we've
should uh, we should do this again, whether recorded or not.
I'm totally down. Like I said,
We'll get
again,
our
the NFT
invisible
space,
co-host Melissa.
the NFT space brought me a lot of good things, namely the people and the friends I made along the way. I'm glad to be able to call you one of those as well. I'm a huge fan of you
Awesome.
as a human being, your work, your art, and yeah, man, thanks for so much for coming on the podcast today. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.